On the agenda tonight, we're going back to 1964. We're going to be taking a look at Anthony Newley, and he's going to be singing Goldfinger. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So, this is going to be an interesting one tonight because we're going to be having a listen to what would have been the original demo for Goldfinger before Shirley Bassey then recorded it. This is what they put together. And, it's interesting from so many different angles because of the way that Anthony performs it, but the things that they've then changed when they came to record it in the studio for the movie. So we will get everything up on screen. As always, there are links in the description below to this original video if you want to watch it, but also I'll leave the link to Shirley Bassey's version in there as well, so you can check that out. But let's jump into it and see how Anthony gets on.
Goldfinger, he's the man with the Midas touch, a spider's touch, such a cold finger, beckons you to enter his web of sin, but don't go in. Golden words he will pour in your ear, but his lies can't disguise what you fear.
I'm just going to jump in here because we've already had so much with this original demo, and it very much is a performance because of the way that he's delivering the vocal. He does have this wide vibrato, which we can see, and that's something that Shirley Bassey had as well. But because he's delivering it in such a way, I know that John Barry, who was the producer and co-writer of this song, said that he loved Anthony's performance because it was very creepy. That's what he said. And you definitely get that vibe from it. It's definitely a unique vocal. But to point out the things that have changed, or at least when they've recorded this demo, then they've thought how they can tweak it. When we're listening to the beginning, of course, it's really stripped back. We've just got this double bass sound, which is, in and out. In terms of pitch, it's pretty close, but you can tell that it's just a rough, a bit of playing going on, just getting this demo down. So the bass, I think, is maybe a little bit overactive as well with the way that it's jumping around, because I think they then changed it to more kind of octaves and fifths rather than kind of jumping around, or at least they took it down in the mix so that obviously Shirley's vocal was the focus, but then the other instrumentation would then play a bigger role because it wouldn't be as stripped back. And the most important part, when we listen to this again, let's just let it play.
Goldfinger, he's the man with the Midas touch, a spider's touch.
So you can hear how that bass is going for a bit of a walk, but the groove that we've got in there as well, like I said, we're not straight. So we've got that bounce of effectively not being on the beat, so it's going da 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 da. So you're getting that offbeat, and if I'm clicking my fingers and we're going 1 2 3 4 da 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 da, you can hear that there's a da. There's a note being emphasized in between the clicks, in between the numbers. So that's on the offbeat, and that kind of gives it that swing, that bounce. So that's something that was then changed. I think this is probably a little bit faster as well, tempo wise, but let's jump into it quickly.
But don't go in. Go.
And of course, then we get into the classic James Bond semitone run. But with the performance, like I said, he's acting this out, and that little laugh before, but don't go in, that's all part of it. It's playing the part of somebody who knows this Goldfinger person and what they're like. But let's listen on.
Words he will pour in your ear.
Oh, really important thing that I want to mention here is when we've looked at other songs and performances, how more often than not you're going to get a lead vocal, and you always get the call and response, and that's really important. You have the lead vocal then goes away, and imagine great blues guitarists who do this, that sing, and then they'll play a little line on their guitar and they'll come back and sing, and it's going to be a lead line that they're playing, so that lead guitar is now the focus. And that's the same principle for all instruments when they're playing anything that's going to be a lead line, something that's taking your attention. It is taking the lead. So you've got a vocal. Generally, the vocal moves out of the way, or between vocal phrases, you'll get something in the middle there, in the gap. And, I mean, this brings me on to the other point about, in the Shirley Bassey version, that trombone that comes in. Because everybody knows that. I mean, it is a hook and a half when you have that Goldfinger banana. And there's so much personality in that. And even kind of just roughly singing it, you keep all the expression in there. And the fact that it's a trombone means that you get that na-na. And it kind of just, goes off into, it doesn't go into a note. And that's something that if a trumpet were playing it, it would just hold the notes and it wouldn't have the same sound or feel or personality. I mean, it's so effective. It shows you what a call and response is, that Shirley sings a lead vocal and you get that response that's just really melodic, really hooky and great.
Golden words he will pour in your ear. But
yeah, so we've got a trumpet in the background there. So it means that we've got two lead instruments. When you consider that the lead vocal is a voice, it's an instrument. So the vocal cords are the human instrument. When we're focusing on it, you've got this other noise going on, this other thing that's trying to get your attention. Yeah, I'm not surprised that they've obviously taken that part out, or at least dialed it back, and now put that trombone in those sections. And just to mention that the trombone wasn't actually in there when they sat down to record this in the studio. It was something that John Barry, on a tea break, I think they'd been in the studio for like an hour or maybe a little bit longer, and just when he was having his break, he just thought of it, or he heard it, or he thought, oh, that would be great. So they quickly wrote it for the musicians, and then it was part of the composition. So, I mean, it's great that it was just a spur of the moment thing, but it is huge in the song and the composition. But it does sound like it should be in there, that there's a gap for it. And with this demo, as we get further into it, I'm sure that maybe in that second verse, we can see if there is indeed a gap there that kind of needs filling.
his lies can't disguise what you fear. For a golden girl knows when he's kissed her, it's the kiss of death from Mr. Goldfinger. Pretty girl, beware of this heart of gold. This heart is cold.
Just a quick word on Anthony's vocal here, because we've got this cold, this kind of wobble, which makes it more dramatic, and that's also giving it a bit of a creepy quality, because if you were to sing that note straight, then cold, there's nothing in that. Whereas when you start, doing that kind of thing, and getting a bit of vocal fry in there as well, it just becomes a little bit more, spooky and creepy.
Golden words he will pour in your ear, but his lies can't disguise what you fear.
See how, again, we've got two lead, focal points going on at the same time here.
For a golden girl knows when he's kissed her, it's the kiss of death from Mr. Goldfinger.
There it is. So when we get into this verse, I mean, there's no denying that there's a space there. I mean, we've kind of got that swell that's going on from the horn section in the background, but I mean, the gap was already there. It was going to be a case of finding something to plug this hole in the composition, because when you're listening to any composition, there's always something going on. When you're talking about, production and mixing as well, if there's ever any space in the song, in the performance, something will get put into that, and ideally it's going to be melodic, it's got to be hooky, but there's going to be something that's just going to tweak your ear while there isn't a vocal. And I think the swell here doesn't quite do enough. It's too much of a lull.
Goldfinger, pretty girl.
And even there, I mean, that's interesting because Anthony's put in a hum. So it's almost like, I mean, I think great musicians, composers have a sense of where there's a gap and it needs something in here. And it's not really, a melody. It's not a hook or anything. It's just kind of maybe making a mental note that, we've got a gap here.
Pretty girl, beware of this heart of gold. This heart is cold. He loves only gold, only gold. He loves gold. He loves only gold. He loves gold. He loves
And there we have it. So, I mean, also at the end there, I mean, we've got some really high head voice notes going on here from Anthony. Going back, we've got this held note, which is the note that Shirley Bassey holds. And I can remember reading that she said when she was holding this last note in the studio, I think John was looking at her to hold this note for as long as possible, and she said that she was going, blue in the face because she was getting this note to go on. For obviously, she was waiting for the signal to stop, but it never came. So that note that she held in the studio was just her, almost dying holding it. But yeah, let's just have a listen. Yeah, so you can hear that. The Anthony's hit that note and he's held it for quite a long time, but then he goes off into this head voice. I'm just going to have a quick listen to this end part again because we've got these notes in and around F sharp 4. Hang on, it's going to go higher than that. Yeah, I think the pitch monitoring software, for some reason, is hearing it. Maybe it's hearing some harmonics somewhere, or it could be hearing an instrument in there, but it's plotting it as a D sharp 6 and it should be a D sharp 5. Let's have a listen. yeah, so it is up there. So that's going to be the D sharp 5, which is, I mean, that was not a clean head voice that I was doing, but just kind of finding where that pitch is. I mean, it is great that he's got that in his voice where he can take the note that high. Obviously, it's not something that they thought was applicable to that final recording. And I guess this is the point, that when you're singing through a composition, everyone is waiting for that high note at the end of the song. And the high notes, especially in the Shirley Bassey version, if she then goes away and starts hitting higher notes, it's almost like it's going to devalue that crescendo that you've got at the end of the song, because the note, it actually wasn't the highest note you hear, and it didn't build up to that top of the mountain that I'm always talking about, that, you know, you'll have a vocal that just moves higher and higher and higher, and then you hit that note right at the end, you know, last note of the chorus in this particular case, hold on the note, and that's great. But then if you start going even higher than that in a lighter kind of head voice here, you lose a bit of that impact. So yeah, I mean, even though it's great vocal technique. But anyway, thank you guys for requesting this particular video for me to check out in the first place. Keep those suggestions and requests coming in the comment section below. As always, let me know what you guys think, and if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys at the next one. Rock!